Hello Indie Warriors and welcome to I Dream of Indie. My name's Old Gamer Joe, bringing you another review today on the Nintendo Switch for Super Cyborg, a loving tribute to 2D run-and-gun action games. I have a friend who every year, every Christmas Eve, tries to run through Contra on one life, and I've yet to see him do it successfully. Always dies on the snowfield, but it's a great tradition. I love run-and-gun games. I absolutely loved Contra when I was a kid. Now, as we all know, Contra was a pretty dang tough game. Most NES titles were, and so too is Super Cyborg. Despite having a few different difficulty options, even easy kicked my butt. The only way I got any type of storyline in this game was honestly by reading the description on the Nintendo eShop, where it explains that you are sent to a mysterious island to deal with some nasty aliens. Seems good enough to me. Super Cyborg can be enjoyed with up to 2 players. You can select a few different skins before you set out, and then you're off into the jungle. Very reminiscent again of Contra. I mean, it's the jungle, that's iconic. The arcade-style gameplay is just what you would expect. You can hold down the fire button you're going to need to blast your way forward and deal with all these aliens, inevitably getting to a boss that you'll have to topple in order to advance to the next level. You also have a charge shot. I didn't particularly find it all that useful, and you'll do some basic platforming. Really all there is to it. Enemies are going to come at you really from all directions. Up, down, left, right, it doesn't really matter. Wow, I almost just did the Konami code right there. Maybe I should try that. Maybe it's a secret in this game. I don't know, I didn't actually test that. The action feels frantic, it's fun, it's responsive, it plays really well. If you love this genre, you're going to feel extremely comfortable with the controls. I know that roguelites are all the rage in this day and age, but I really loved having predefined levels back in the day, and I still do to this day. It's a lot of fun to get used to a level and learn it and have to master it and then go back on a harder difficulty and learn it again and get better at it. I just don't feel as stuck this way. I get to see a little bit of different scenery without having to play for hours and hours. Whether it's the crazy amount of aliens coming at you with bullets flying everywhere or the giant bosses with interesting patterns to learn, you're going to take a death eventually in Super Cyborg, and that's going to mean back to the beginning of the level that you're on. Not the beginning of the game, so say you die in level 4, you're not going to have to go back to level 1, but should you run out of all 4 lives, you're either going to be at the halfway point of the level that you're on if you hit that halfway point, or the beginning of that level. No escaping it though, Super Cyborg is pretty tough. Initially, you're going to have 2 difficulties to choose from, easy, which feels more like normal, and then there's normal, which feels like hard. Luckily, it won't just be your standard machine gun that you're going to have to rely on. Occasionally, just like they did in Contra, some power-ups will fly by. You need to shoot them down, and you can collect those, like a spread shot or a shock that can deal damage to enemies, or a laser attack. Fans of those classic run-and-gun games are absolutely going to love this one. It is very much a love letter to the genre, and it plays great, and it looks great too, I think. If you go back to the jungle in Contra, sure, it has its charm and it looks nice, but this jungle has real layers to it. There's a factory in the background, there's real detail to the water and the trees. It looks fantastic, actually, and the levels just evolve from there. Level 4 is this nest of different aliens. It's very organic feeling. The bosses look really quite incredible in this game, with unique designs, creepy looking too. One of these bosses had this strange looking blue nutsack thing going on that Silent Signs found rather amusing. These are the kind of aliens that you would have sketched on a notepad when you were 12 years old. Really neat stuff. To accompany the retro graphics that I really quite enjoyed is a soundtrack that is actually cool, but it's not quite NES again, and it's not quite Genesis. It's sort of weird. It has that sound to it, but there's a lot of high-pitched squeals, some decent melodies here. It really wasn't my favorite, but I did like the sound effects themselves, like your guns, they all sound great. The soundtrack has some energy to it, it's just kind of odd. I would say I liked it more than I didn't, and some of the noodling around with the synthy keyboards is cool, but there were some tracks that did leave me a little bit confused, I guess is a word for it. In the end though, Super Cyborg is a loving tribute in particular to Contra. I had a really good time with this one. It feels good, it looks really nice, it sounds a little bit odd, but kinda cool. And overall, it's an enjoyable experience, even with 2 players. You do run into the problem with 2 players where sometimes you'll make a jump and the screen will eat your second player, but me and my co-op partner were more often having fun than we weren't. Yeah, you're gonna die, it's gonna be maybe a little frustrating here or there, but this game's really fun. If you haven't checked it out, it did previously release on other consoles. Grab it on the Nintendo Switch for on-the-go gameplay. That's really a nice feature. The performance was fine on Switch, so nothing to worry about there, and I think you'll have a good time with this one, as long as you like run and gun games. Thank you so much for watching the latest video from I Dream of Indie. We would now like to run and gun our way through this list of brave indie warriors and legends. At the Indie Warriors tier, Bill T, Christian Cruz, Kevalo, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, Julian Colbus, Jesse, Raylin, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noyle, Carmine Red, King of the Hatch, and Blue Francis 14. Indie Legends, Jen Rose, Larkison, Mitchell Hall, Eric Peach, Skeptism, C. Coyle, Nathan Moore, and Chris Jackson. Thank you so much for everything that you do for independent developers, for the publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming by checking out the description box below.